That's Bo and Luke Duke.
Them Duke boys, they've sunk to a new low. They're running guns. I'm not talking booze, I'm talking guns.
Guns?
Guns.
Did you say guns?
I said guns, grenades, bombs, rifles, enough to outfit a whole army.
An orange car launches off a dirt road and hangs in the air. A horn plays Dixie. A voice tells you these Duke boys never meant no harm. 40 million Americans believed it every Friday night.
Just a good old boy, never meaning no harm.
But the man behind that voice survived the plane crash that killed Buddy Holly. The teenager behind that wheel lied his way into the role. The woman in the cut-off shorts rebuilt her life after her husband died by suicide. And the two heroes walked off the set mid-season and sued the studio for $25 million.
I'm collecting these. What for? Lining a rabbit's cage? Face up.
One car, one county, one show the network thought would die before the first commercial break. This is what really happened, 47 years later. Waylon Jennings, as the balladeer. Waylon Arnold Jennings was born on June 15, 1937, in Littlefield, Texas. He never appeared on screen. You never saw his face. But the moment that theme song hit, you knew exactly who was talking.
Straightening the curves, flattening the hills.
He was the balladeer, the narrator, the voice that told you what kind of show this was before the first car left the ground.
Welcome to Hazzard County.
And he was carrying something most of you never knew about. Before he was the voice of Hazzard County, Waylon Jennings was Buddy Holly's bass player. In February of 1959, Holly chartered a small plane after a show in Clear Lake, Iowa. Jennings gave up his seat to J.P. Richardson, who was sick with the flu. The plane crashed shortly after 1 in the morning. Holly was 22. Richie Valens and Richardson died with him. Jennings lived. What you never heard was the last thing he said to Holly. Holly had joked, "I hope your old bus freezes up." Jennings replied, "I hope your old plane crashes." He spent decades haunted by those 7 words. He later wrote that he blamed himself, that he hadn't contributed anything to the world compared to Buddy.
Now, you see what you done?
That he couldn't understand why he was the one still standing. That guilt followed him into addiction, cocaine, amphetamines, years of it. He linked it directly to that night and everything that came after. He got clean. He became a pioneer of outlaw country alongside Willie Nelson and Johnny Cash. 47 studio albums. And then in 1979, that voice introduced the Duke Boys to 40 million Americans every Friday night.
Well, this is Hazzard County. They do things different here.
Reaching fans who had never heard a Waylon Jennings record in their lives. Waylon Jennings died on February 13, 2002, in Chandler, Arizona. Diabetic complications. He died in his sleep. He was 64 years old. The man who survived the day the music died never got to grow old, but that voice never left. You still hear it.
That's him, Sheriff Rosco Coltrane. After 30 years as a fairly honest lawman, most of Roscoe's pension got defeated in the last bond election.
John Schneider a.s. Bo Duke. John Richard Schneider was born on April 8, 1960, in Mount Kisco, New York. He was 18 years old when he became Bo Duke, the blonde-haired, fast-driving, never-thinking-twice cousin who jumped that orange Charger over everything in Hazzard County and made it look like the most natural thing in the world. 50 years later, people who never watched a single episode still know that car, still know that jump, still know Bo Duke. What they don't know is that Bo Duke was never supposed to exist. Producers wanted someone in their mid-20s, from Georgia, with experience. Schneider was 17 going on 18, from New York, with nothing on his resume worth mentioning. He walked into that audition, lied about his age, deployed a Southern accent so convincing the room never questioned it, and walked out with the role. He wasn't old enough to legally drink when that show premiered. You were watching a teenager play the coolest guy in the county every Friday night. Nobody knew. After the show, he built more than most people expected. Country music brought him 5 Billboard #1 hits. Smallville gave him 10 years as Superman's father. Tyler Perry kept him working, but behind the career, his financial life was coming apart. A second marriage dissolved into a legal battle that left him owing $1.8 million in unpaid alimony. By 2018, he had served jail time, not for a crime, for missing payments. The man America knew as the hero of Hazzard County was sitting in a cell with an estimated net worth of $200,000. Then his third wife, Alicia, died of breast cancer on February 22, 2023. He was with her through all of it. He later said the only thing keeping him from self-harm was his faith. That is not a small thing to admit. That is everything. He married Dee Sorvino, widow of actor Paul Sorvino, in Las Vegas on July 23, 2024. Two people who had each lost the love of their life, finding each other. In 2026, John Schneider is 66 years old. Bo Duke always won. John Schneider lost. A lot. Repeatedly. And kept going anyway. And that is a harder thing to do.
Hey, Jojo!
Tom Wopat as Luke Duke. Thomas Stephen Wopat was born on September 9, 1951, in Lodi, Wisconsin. He was 27 years old when he became Luke Duke, the older one, the calmer one, the cousin who thought before he acted and usually talked Bo out of the worst ideas, right before going along with them anyway. If Bo was the engine, Luke was the steering wheel. And for 6 seasons, that balance was everything. What you didn't know was that Luke Duke came from Broadway. Wopat had already debuted on Broadway in 1977 in the musical I Love My Wife, before he ever set foot in Hazzard County. He originally auditioned for Bo. They steered him toward Luke instead. That theatrical discipline is exactly why Luke always felt grounded in a show that was otherwise completely out of control. After the show, he kept working. Broadway kept calling. Annie Get Your Gun, Glengarry Glen Ross, 42nd Street. Television kept him busy too. Sybil, Longmire, Blue Bloods. He never chased celebrity. He never needed to. But in the summer of 2017, everything stopped. On July 23, 2017, Wopat was arrested backstage at a production of 42nd Street in Waltham, Massachusetts, charged with indecent assault and battery on a female cast member. When police searched him, they found 2 bags of cocaine. He reportedly told officers he buys cocaine in large quantities and uses it over time. He was 65 years old. He was replaced in the production the same day. He later pleaded guilty, 1-year probation. The arrest didn't just damage his career. It pulled back the curtain on something that had been hidden for years. An ongoing struggle with substance abuse nobody around him had said out loud. In 2026, Tom Wopat is 74 years old. Luke Duke was the steady one, the one you trusted to keep things from going too far. That trust turned out to be more complicated than anyone knew, and his story isn't finished yet.
We can't afford to be cheated out of $50. They can't stop him. Besides, we asked him nice.
I know that.
Katherine Bach as Daisy Duke. Katherine Lynn Bach was born on March 1, 1954 in Warren, Ohio. She was 24 years old when she became Daisy Duke, the resourceful, fiercely loyal cousin who could outthink Boss Hogg, outrun Rosco, and look completely effortless doing both. She was the heart of that farmhouse in a way the show never fully gave her credit for, and she left a mark on American culture so permanent it ended up in the dictionary, literally. The term Daisy Dukes, cut-off denim shorts, exists in the American language because of her. One costume, one character, one woman who wore it with enough confidence that it permanently rewrote fashion vocabulary. That kind of cultural impact doesn't happen by accident. But here is what you never saw behind that smile. In 1990, Bach married Peter Lopez, an entertainment attorney who represented Michael Jackson. They had 2 daughters together, Laura and Sophia. By every outward measure, it was the life that followed the fame with grace. And then, on April 2, 2010, a neighbor heard a gunshot at their home in Encino Hills, Los Angeles. Peter Lopez was found dead, a gunshot wound. The coroner ruled it an apparent suicide. He was 50 years old. Bach did not speak publicly about it for 3 years. When she finally did, she said his death left her with more questions than answers, that raising their daughters alone became her only focus. She didn't perform her grief for anyone. She just carried it and kept moving. She rebuilt through The Young and the Restless, joining the CBS soap in 2012 and staying with it. She launched her own jewelry line. She kept showing up for fan conventions, for the community that never stopped loving Daisy Duke. In 2026, Katherine Bach is 72 years old. Daisy Duke was the toughest person in Hazzard County. It turned out the woman behind her was tougher.
Oh, my Lord, what for?
Hijacking, that's what for.
Denver Pyle, as Uncle Jesse. Denver Pyle was born on May 11th, 1920, in Bethune, Colorado. He was 58 years old when he became Uncle Jesse Duke, the patriarch, the moral compass of Hazzard County, the man every Duke boy answered to and every viewer trusted completely. In a show built on chaos, Uncle Jesse was the still point, the one who reminded you what the whole thing was actually about. He was not a man who arrived at that role by accident. Pyle had been working in Hollywood for decades before Hazzard County existed. You had already seen him without knowing it. He was Briscoe Darling on The Andy Griffith Show. He had a scene in Bonnie and Clyde in 1967. He was the kind of actor the industry quietly relied on for 30 years before giving him the role that would define him. What makes his story hit differently is the timing. Denver Pyle died on Christmas Day, 1997, lung cancer. He was 77 years old. The 1997 CBS reunion special, the one that brought the whole cast back together, aired the same year he died. He made it to that reunion. He showed up one last time for the family he had anchored for 6 seasons, and then he was gone. When the second reunion film aired in 2000, the character of Uncle Jesse was written out of the story. His death explained within the show itself, because there was no replacing him, not even fictionally. In 2026, Denver Pyle has been gone for 28 years. Uncle Jesse was the anchor. The show knew it, the cast knew it, and the seat he left behind stayed empty.
I know that them songs has been a long time dream of yours. That's why we gotta stop this star fella.
Sorrell Booke as Boss Hogg. Sorrell Booke was born on January 4th, 1930 in Buffalo, New York. He was 49 years old when he became Jefferson Davis Hogg. The white suit, the white hat, the man who owned Hazzard County and never let anyone forget it. Boss Hogg appeared in every single episode of the series. Not most of them, every one. He was the engine the whole show ran against. No Boss Hogg, no show. And here's the contradiction that still stops people cold. The man who played the crude, bumbling, uneducated Southern redneck was one of the most intellectually accomplished actors in Hollywood. Sorrell Booke held a degree from Columbia University and a master's from Yale. He served in the Korean War as a counterintelligence officer. He was fluent in 5 languages. He was a second cousin of Max Yasgur, the farmer who hosted Woodstock. The man in that white suit could outthink almost everyone on that set in 4 languages before breakfast. He never got to show any of that on screen. What they gave him was a buffoon. And he played that buffoon with such total commitment that you never once questioned it. He reportedly used method acting techniques on set. He even ate raw liver for a scene. That is not the behavior of an actor mailing it in. Sorrell Booke died on February 11th, 1994, in Sherman Oaks, California. Colorectal cancer. He was 64 years old. His tombstone reads, "Beloved Pa, Grandpa, Brother, and Boss." He made peace with it. A Yale man who let Boss Hogg have the last word.
Them Duke boys didn't know their scheme would Cletus with just his mortgage, so they got caught in their own trap. And you ain't calling dog because you got 3 of the robbers in jail right now.
James Best as Sheriff Rosco P. Coltrane. Jewel Franklin Guy was born on July 26, 1926 in Powderly, Kentucky. He was 52 years old when he became Sheriff Rosco P. Coltrane, the bumbling, lovable, hopelessly outmatched lawman who chased the Duke boys across Hazzard County for 6 seasons and never once caught them. You laughed every time Rosco failed. That was the job. And James Best did it better than anyone else could have. But the man behind that badge carried a weight most people never knew about. His mother died when he was 3. His father died shortly after. All 9 children in the family were orphaned and placed with different families. James was adopted by Armin and Essa Best, renamed himself James at his own request, and grew up in rural Indiana. He served in the U.S. Army in World War II and learned to act in a military theater company. The child who lost everything became the man who made millions laugh every Friday night. That is not a small distance to travel. What his castmates remembered most was not Rosco, it was the teacher. Best ran one of the most respected acting schools of his generation. John Schneider said he learned more about acting from James Best in one afternoon than from anyone else in a year. When asked if he could cry on camera, Best would say, "Sure thing, which eye?" James Best died on April 6, 2015 in Hickory, North Carolina. Complications from pneumonia. He was 88 years old. Rosco never caught the Duke boys. James Best caught something better, the respect of everyone who ever worked with him.
Rose Ellen,
I told you not to call me here at work. You little rascal, you. Huh?
Ben Jones, A.S. Cooter Davenport. Benjamin Lewis Jones was born on August 30th, 1941 in Tarboro, North Carolina. He was 37 years old when he became Cooter Davenport, the mechanic, the Duke family's most reliable friend, the man who fixed the General Lee every time the boys broke it and never once asked for a thank you. Cooter was the everyman of Hazzard County, the one who felt most like someone you actually knew. What nobody saw coming was what Ben Jones did after the show ended. He ran for Congress. In 1986, Jones entered the race for Georgia's 4th Congressional District against Republican Pat Swindoll. He lost, but earned 47% of the vote. He came back in 1988 and won with 60%. Cooter the mechanic served 2 full terms as a Democratic congressman from Georgia in the United States House of Representatives. That is not a sentence you expect to type about anyone from this cast. After losing his seat in 1992 following redistricting, he built something else entirely. A chain of Cooter's Place museums dedicated to the Dukes of Hazzard, with locations in Tennessee and Virginia. He still runs them. He still shows up for the fans. He was among the first to confirm the death of Rick Hurst in June 2025, calling it very shocking and hurtful. In 2026, Ben Jones is 84 years old. Cooter fixed everything in Hazzard County. Turns out he wasn't done fixing things when the cameras stopped rolling.
Tyndale Rock. Who put it in last week over there in Rutledge behind his house.
Yeah.
I was running hookers on that shit.
Chevy that I get? But I told the Chevy.
Sonny Shroyer. A.S. Deputy Enos Strait. Sonny Shroyer was born on August 28, 1935. He was 43 years old when he became Deputy Enos Strait, the sweet-natured, perpetually lovesick deputy who was hopelessly devoted to Daisy Duke and hopelessly bad at his job. You couldn't dislike Enos. The show knew it. CBS knew it. They gave him his own spin-off. Enos ran for 1 season in 1980. CBS pulled it to Los Angeles, away from Hazzard County, away from everything that made the character work. It lasted 20 episodes. Shroyer came back to Dukes in season 5 and stayed through the finale, because Hazzard County was always where Enos belonged. In 2026, Sonny Shroyer is 90 years old, among the oldest surviving cast members still with us. Enos never got the girl. Shroyer got something quieter and rarer. He lasted.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say...
Enos, don't do that now. That constitutes cruel and unusual punishment.
Did you have to?
Rick Hurst. As Deputy Cletus Hogg. Richard Hurst was born in 1946. He was in his early 30s when he became Deputy Cletus Hogg, the bumbling cousin of Boss Hogg, who replaced Enos in seasons 3 and 4 and made the transition feel completely seamless. Cletus was never supposed to be more than a placeholder. He became something much more than that. What most people don't know is who he raised at home. Rick Hurst's son is Ryan Hurst, Opie Winston from Sons of Anarchy, one of the most beloved characters in cable television history. Deputy Cletus Hogg raised Opie. That connection alone earns him a permanent place in television history across 2 completely different generations. Rick Hurst died on June 26, 2025. He was 79 years old. Ben Jones confirmed it, saying there wasn't a minute in 45 years that Rick didn't leave him smiling. That is a good thing to have said about you.
People of Hazzard. Deputy Cletus Hogg is running this town now, and when I say jump, I want everybody to jump.
Christopher Mayer, A.S. Vance Duke. Christopher Mayer was born in 1954. He was the man CBS hired in a panic when Schneider and Wopat walked off the set in 1982. Vance Duke, the replacement cousin nobody asked for and nobody wanted. He was unemployed when they cast him. He told People magazine, "Only in this business can you be an overnight celebrity." He was right. He just didn't mention how fast it ends. The audience never accepted Coy and Vance. Ratings collapsed. Schneider and Wopat came back. Vance vanished mid-episode and was never mentioned again. Christopher Mayer was found dead in his Los Angeles home in 2011. Natural causes. He was 57 years old. The Dukes fan community mourned. Almost nobody else noticed.
This sure beats any port I ever seen in the Merchant Marine.
Sam, we're beginning to wonder if you'd ever get here.
If I'd known we was going to get a welcome like this, we would have come back years ago.
That's the Dukes of Hazzard, a show the network thought would die before the first commercial break. 40 million viewers proved them wrong every Friday night. The car became an icon, the flag became an argument, and the people behind it all turned out to be carrying far more than anyone knew. Drop a comment. Which story hit you hardest? And here's the real question. Do you think any of them were ever as free as they looked flying over that ditch in the General Lee? Because the more you know, the harder that question gets. If you want more real stories behind the shows you grew up watching, subscribe. We do this every week. And if this one stayed with you, our video on is the one to watch next.